Welcome, it's Michael Murray with Benzinga, joined here today by Kabir Nath, the CEO of Pathaways. Kabir, great to have you with us. How are you?
Great, thank you. Thanks, Michael. Good to join you.
Excited to have you and the team from Compass here with us to learn a little bit more about the company. Let's go ahead and start with that. Can you give us a brief overview of Compass and what you do with the company?
Absolutely. So Compass Pathways is a biotechnology company that is focused on the development of psilocybin, a proprietary synthetic formulation of psilocybin, which is the ingredient found in magic mushrooms. And we're developing that for the treatment of a number of serious mental illnesses, such as treatment-resistant depression, anorexia nervosa, and PTSD. And I'm the CEO of the company.
Outstanding. Let's talk a little bit about the team too, Kabir. Who is on the leadership team? What experience do they bring, especially in regards to psychedelics?
So we have a very experienced leadership team that actually has people with pharmaceutical experience, biotech experience, also across the digital area, which is an area that we're focused on as well. Our chief medical officer, Dr. Guy Goodwin, was actually the person who designed our phase 2b study for COMP360. He was the principal investigator on that study, and therefore he is somebody who really understands this space well. And then we have a number of other folks in different levels of the company who've worked in that. Our co-founders themselves, George Goldsmith, Katerina Malievskaya, they've stood back from day-to-day management. They clearly had extensive knowledge and networks across this space as they founded the company.
Outstanding. Now, Kabir, you've been with the company as CEO for just over a year. Can you share some of the highlights from this year? What have been the major milestones that you're most proud of?
I think the key thing is when I came in, we were still in the process of really designing our phase 3 studies, our pivotal studies, the last set of trials before we can potentially file for approval. A year later, not only are those designs well established, but we're now well into the phase 3 studies. So those studies are ongoing, they're on track, in line with our expectations. I think the other key thing that we have been focused on this year is really building credibility with a range of healthcare investors. And we were able really to capitalize on that in the last couple of weeks. So just 2 weeks ago, we announced a private placement raising up to $285 million, but one that's really joined by some very leading healthcare investors. So those two in particular, but overall, I'm very happy with the progress that the company has made during the last year.
Wonderful. Now, the big news, of course, right now is your recent private placement. Walk us through that deal and what especially it means for Compass.
So I think a couple of things are really important. I think first, it gives us runway into late 2025, as we have said. So it extends our financial runway by another year, which is really important in the current market environment. Secondly, the way it was structured with an upfront of $125 million and the potential for a further $160 million is also, we think, a very creative way to finance us and also gives us, some security for the future. But I think the other thing is it really helps to validate the credibility of Compass. You asked about the management team, about the leadership. This really is a sign of confidence in Compass overall, the leadership, everyone at every level of the company. We've seen, as I said, some really significant healthcare investors, very few of whom had really touched this whole area of psychedelics so far, have come in onto this round of financing. So I think it's good for Compass. And honestly, I think it's also good for the sector as a whole.
Excellent. Now, a final question for you here as we start to wrap, or as we get closer to wrapping. Attitudes towards psychedelics use is rapidly changing. How do we ensure that they're used most effectively and responsibly as a culture moving forward?
That's a great question, Michael. What we are focused on at Compass is putting these through the medical model. So that's why we're doing these extensive clinical trials. If the trials are successful, we will then apply for FDA approval. And if approved, these will then be available through the medical model. And crucially, they can be reimbursed. So we will be able to talk to CMS and commercial payers in the US about reimbursement, because to us, this is key to broad and equitable access. And so for us, that's the medical model that we're following. And we believe that comes with the appropriate safeguards around the use of these medicines.
Terrific. Kabir, what are you hoping to achieve in your second year and beyond? What do you think some of the greatest challenges are that lie ahead, and how do you plan to tackle them as you move forward?
So the first priority is to continue to execute on our phase 3 studies. That's really important, and we're very well set to do that. A second would be to build on some of the work we're already doing on the commercial side, or the potential for commercial. And I was probably remiss not to include one of the other key achievements of the last year, which is that we obtained a CPT-3 code, That's pretty technical, but what that really allows is the tracking of the services that are provided that are needed for the support of psychedelic medicine. So the services of the therapist, the psychological support in the room. And that's a really important signpost on the way to developing more proof points around the commercial side. So I think as well as advancing our phase 3 in TRD, some of our other programs like anorexia, PTSD, continuing to build a body of evidence in other hard to treat serious mental illnesses, continuing to make strong progress on the side of building the commercial infrastructure is going to be really important as well.
Without a doubt. Kabir Nath, CEO of Compass Pathways, thank you so much for joining us here today, sharing more about what you're doing as CEO of the company and what's coming up next. Looking forward to talking again soon.
Thanks very much, Michael.